What's up, guys? It's KidBoss23 and welcome back to another top 10 killer video. Today we'll be doing top 10 mid-tier killers. Now I want to point out that there is like two killers in here that you might be able to argue that they might be better than mid-tier. So it's gonna go from 10 to 1, honestly. And for example, 10 is like the worst mid-tier killer, but it's not low tier, and the first is obviously the best mid-tier killer, but not, not god tier. You are welcome to disagree with me on this. This is my opinion. It's all my opinion. So let's get started with the number 10 spot. The number 10 spot goes to your one and only Michael Myers. Now, Michael Myers isn't a bad killer. No killer in this game. Well, I mean, Clown is bad, but you can still earn 4Ks with the Clown. But I put Myers on the 10th spot because he's definitely not the worst stealth killer. Pig, in my opinion, is the worst stealth killer. But he's not a good killer. He's not a good killer compared to the killers higher up in this list, or I should say lower down in this list. Well, no, I'm gonna keep it higher up in this list. He has some great, some okay, I would say okay perks. But he has probably some of the strongest add-ons in the game to his power. So I'm gonna go over his power real quick. His power is called Evil Within. Pretty much you have to stalk people by pressing the power button so you can gain levels up in with the Evil Within. For example, Evil Within, which is the one you start with, it grants you undetectable status effects, slightly decreases movement speed, basic attack has a slight decreased lunge, so pretty much you can't lunge pretty far when you're in Evil Within. And plus you are very slow. I don't think you're as slow as the nurse. No, I think you're as slow as the nurse actually when you're in tier 1. Evil Within tier 2, moderately decreases terror radius, slightly increases movement speed, basic attack has a slightly increased lunge, so pretty much you turn into just a regular M1 killer once you get into tier 3. And then Evil Within 3, which is really where his power shines, is when triggered, all survivors suffer from the exposed status effect. Evil Within 3 lasts for 60 seconds, after which it regresses to Evil Within 2. So pretty much when you stalk all the way and you get the Evil Within 3, you get the insta down people, and it's very fun and it's very nice. So Myers is a fun killer. Now I'm pretty sure that, yeah, there's add-ons to where you can increase the amount of time that Evil Within 3 is available to use. There is an add-on to actually makes, once you get the Evil Within 3, it actually makes it permanent for the rest of the game. But also you need to stalk for a lot longer to get to tier 3. So probably 3 gen pop, 3 or 2 gens are gonna pop by the time you get the Evil Within 3, unless it's somehow just stands there for like ever. But yeah, that's pretty much how his power works. And if you don't understand me, you can pause and read it because sometimes it's hard to understand me, I know. But let's go over some of his teachable perks. So his first teachable perk is play with your food. First off, all his perks are obsession perks, so that is, obsession perks could be good and could not be good at the same time. But anyway, you become obsessed with one survivor. Every time you chase your obsession and let them escape, you receive a token up to a maximum of 3 tokens. Each token increases your movement speed by 4%. Performing a basic action, attack, or special attack spends 1 token. So I know this is only tier 3, tier 4. I know it's only tier 2, tier 3. I think it goes up a little bit more. But pretty much, each time you chase a survivor, so each time you chase your obsession and you let them escape, you gain a token, and that pretty much increases your movement speed. And performing a basic attack or special attack spends the token that you gained. So in my opinion, I don't know about this perk. I don't really like obsession perks in general, so I can't really agree with this perk at all. But some people like this perk, some people don't. I mean, it's like movement speed is nice, but like I don't really know, to be honest with you. in my opinion, I don't like this perk. This perk is pretty bad in my opinion. But yeah, let's play with your food. Second teachable perk is save the best for last. So earn a token for each successful basic attack that is not dealt to the obsession. Each token grants a stackable 5% decrease successful basic attack cooldown. You can earn up to 8 tokens. Hitting your obsession with a basic attack will cause you to lose 4 tokens. You can no longer gain tokens if your obsession is sacrificed or killed. So pretty much when you swing, you can, so when you swing and you get the cooldown from your swing, if you hit a survivor, you can pretty much get out of that cooldown faster, so you can reach a survivor. So this is definitely better, in my opinion. This is definitely better than play with your food. But you have the very harsh penalty of losing 4 tokens when you accidentally hit your obsession. So once you know who your obsession is, you know what character it is. Let's say it's a Kate, and you know not to really hit that Kate until a lot of other survivors are killed. Again, I would never really run this perk, to be honest with you. Again, this is only tier 1, so the 5% decrease I think goes up more once you get to tier 3 of this perk. But yeah, in my opinion, I would never really run this perk. It's just I don't really like any of Myra's perks. Anyway, third teachable perk is Undying Light. Your obsession grants 35% action speed bonus on hooking and healing other survivors each time you hook a survivor other than the obsession. If the obsession is alive, gain a token. If the obsession is alive, all survivors who are not the obsession get 2% penalty to repair, healing, and sabotage speed for each token. So this is, in my opinion, this is probably his best perk. I know some of you might be screaming like, oh my god, you don't know, but this is probably one of his best perks in my opinion. Yeah, when a survivor gets a lot more benefits, but every time a survivor is hooked and the obsession is still alive, they all get, a debuff to repair, healing, and sabotaging. So it's pretty good. Obviously, tier 3, the percentage goes up a little bit more, but I don't have tier 3 of this perk yet. But yeah, it's pretty good. So let's quickly go over some of his add-ons. Obviously, his best add-ons are like Tombstone Piece and Judas Tombstone, sorry. Dead Rabbit is also very good on Myers. Stuff like a hairbrush moderately increases the duration of Evil Within 3, but you have to stalk for longer to get to tier 3, but you get longer duration of tier 3, but you have to stalk for longer, obviously. So yeah, so that's my Michael Myers is number 10. On to the number 9 spot. Okay, on to the number 9 spot. We have the Hag. In my opinion, I don't like the Hag. I don't like the playstyle. But I occasionally play her. But anyway, her power is pretty simple. It's similar to Trapper. It's a blackened catalyst. So pretty much what you do is grants the ability to create and maintain 10 phantom traps, grants the ability to instantly travel to triggered phantom traps for when within a 40-meter range. So pretty much she's similar to Trapper in a way to where you have to place traps, and when a survivor stands in it, they don't get stuck like Trapper, because Trapper, if a survivor goes into the trap, she gets they get stuck in the bear trap. This, they can go right through you, but you have the ability to teleport to the trap that they stepped on, so you can get a hit on them. Well, most of the times you can get a hit on them because they don't really travel that far if you're good with your teleport. If you're fast enough, you have quick enough reaction time. But yeah, that's pretty much all her power is. It's similar to Trapper, except you can actually teleport to your traps. Unlike Trapper, you need to walk to your traps. And plus, her traps are way harder to see, especially on the grass and dirt and stuff. So that even gets her more of an advantage. Her perks are Hex Ruin. This is obviously, I don't know if it's a meta perk anymore. I think it still is. It's definitely still a meta perk. But pretty much Hex Ruin, what it is all generators that are affected by Hex Ruin, while a generator is not being repaired by survivor, it will immediately and automatically regress repair progress at 100% of the normal regression speed. So pretty much, if let's say a survivor is working on a gen and then you chase them off, it will already start regressing, so you don't have to kick the gen because the gen will already start regressing, and plus it will start regressing even more than if you were to kick it. So pretty much the regressing speed or the regressing speed progress is takes faster to regress down to 0 than if you were to kick it. So yeah, it's a really good perk in my opinion, and almost everybody runs it. And plus this perk also combos up with a really good perk that we were talking about when we went to the #1 spot. Next teachable perk is probably the worst. It's Hex the Third Seal. All of our perks are hexes, by the way, so hexes are good perks to run, but there are obviously risky perks because they they can be destroyed in like the first 2 seconds of the game if you're just that unlucky. But anyway, so Hex the Third Seal. A hex that hinders one's aura reading ability. Hitting a survivor with a basic attack while the hex totem is active applies the blindness status effect. The effect applies to the last 3 survivors hit. The hex effects persist as long as the related hex totem is standing. So pretty much all this gives the survivor once you hit them is a blindness status effect. Now this can combat, or I should say this could counter survivor perks such as Kindred or Dark Sense. Pretty much all those aura reading ability perks that survivors have, this can pretty much counter them as it puts them in the blindness status effect so they cannot see any auras. So it's good to counter those perks like Kindred, because Kindred can sometimes be really annoying because it can help people get quick saves because they know that you're not by the hook. But it's just not a good perk. You would obviously rather run Hex Ruin than the Third Seal. Anyway, her third Hex perk is probably the most interesting and probably one of the best, but a really risky perk to run. It's really hard to achieve, max status on this perk. Anyway, when a survivor is rescued from a hook at least 24 meters away, Devourer Hope receives a token. 2 tokens gain a 3% haste status effect for 10 seconds after hooking survivor for a duration of 10 seconds. Now this goes up on tier 3. I don't have tier 3 with this perk though. 3 tokens, survivor suffer from the exposed status effect, which is really good. It's pretty much like a Myers. 5 tokens grants the ability to kill survivors by your own hand. Now that's a big one. Now pretty much how you get this perk leveled up in the tokens is you need purposely give survivors saves, safe saves, so they can save their teammates, and then it grants you the tokens. Now once you get up to 3 tokens, survivors suffer from the exposed status effect, so you can one-shot down them. And then 5 tokens grants the ability to kill survivors by your own hand. So pretty much once you get to tier 3, survivors have no choice but to go find this totem, or else they would be killed. Grants the ability to kill survivors by your own hand. So pretty much once you get into 5 tokens, you pretty much get the Mori everyone. Even if you didn't even bring a Mori, you get the Mori everyone because of this perk. So that's pretty sweet in my opinion. But it's a fairly easy perk to level up, a fairly easy hex perk I should say to level up in tokens. But it's just, you always have the risk of them finding it and destroying it before you can even get to like 3 tokens. So yeah, and plus once you get 1 token, nothing happens, and you need 2 tokens to start having the effects. So yeah, it's still definitely one of her best perks. Hex Ruin is obviously her best, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, I don't know why throwing Trembers is left in there. I forgot to take it off. Anyway, I'm not really gonna go over add-ons because I don't play Hag a lot, so I don't really know her add-ons. All I'm gonna say is stuff like Dragonfly Wings, which is pretty good. Setting speed stuff is pretty good too. I don't really know a whole lot of stuff, so yeah, that's what we're probably end it. Anyway, Hag is number 9 spot, onto the number 8. Alright, on to the number 8 spot, we have the Plague. The Plague is in my opinion, I don't know why, but in my opinion, I don't really find her fun to play. I don't really like the Plague I mainly just got the Plague for one of her best perks, which is Corrupt Intervention. Um, well, I don't really like playing the Plague a whole lot, to be honest with you. But she's alright. She's like, I don't know, like I don't really find her fun to play, me personally. But she's not a bad killer. But anyway, her power, oh my god, it's a lot. So her power is, I'm pretty much gonna sum it up. I'm not gonna read this whole thing. So Vile Purge is pretty much what you start out with. You can pretty much puke on survivors to put them in a little to injure them. If you puke them enough, they get infected and they get into the broken state to where you can just hit them without worrying about hitting them another time. And they cannot be healed during the state unless they cleanse. They can find these little waterfall things across the map that they can cleanse. Pools of devotion, I should say. Sorry, they're called pools of devotion, and they have to go over there to cleanse. And once they cleanse, the pool of devotion becomes corrupt, and it turns into corrupt purge. Now, once you go to the pool of devotion that the survivor cleansed on, you gain your special power, which is Corrupt Purge, where you can instantly hurt survivors with your with your purge, with your throw up, I should say. With your regular throw up, you can only get them infected, and soon they would actually turn into the broken state. But with Corrupt Purge, you can instantly hit them, and they can instantly go down one health state. So you can pretty much get a survivor into the dying state with Corrupt Purge without even hitting them once with your basic attack. And you can put them in the dying state with your special attack, which is Corrupt Purge. Hopefully that was clear. I don't feel like that wasn't really clear, but again, you can pause the video and you can read it yourself. But her 3 teachable perks are: number 1, Corrupt Intervention, probably her best perk, I think, in my opinion. Your prayers invoke a dark power that meddles with the survivor's chance of survival. 3 generators located furthest from you are blocked by the enemy for 120 seconds at the start of the trials. Survivors cannot repair these generators, or for the duration affected generators are highlighted by a white aura. Pretty much it stops pretty much gen rushing. This helps you out with the early game. Usually generators spawn, usually survivors spawn, on the other side of the map, far away from you. And so they spawn on the 3 generators closest to them. And since those 3 generators on the other side of the map, they get blocked for 120 seconds. That is very good, because that means that they have to come towards you if they want to work on generators. Which obviously makes it easier for you to find survivors. So yeah, this is pretty much what the perk does. It is very good for the early game, but after the early game, after the 120 seconds is up, this perk is pretty much dead and doesn't help you for the rest of the game. So this is pretty much a gen perk, but it's a very good gen perk. It's not a gen regression. It's a gen slowdown perk, I should say. It's a game slowdown perk, but it's a very good perk. Her second teachable perk is Dark Devotion. You become obsessed with one survivor. Hitting the obsession with the basic attack transfers your terror radius to the obsession for 25 seconds and sets its radius to 32 meters. You are granted the undetectable status effect for the duration. The survivor with the transferred terror radius is also considered to be inside the terror radius for other purposes. So in my opinion, this perk confuses me a little bit. I don't know how to explain it. Pretty much when you hit a survivor hit your obsession with the basic attack, you transfer your terror radius to the obsession for 25 seconds and sets its radius to 32 meters. You are granted the undetectable status for the duration. I don't know. It's probably just me, but this is really confusing. This perk, you're to obsession for 25 seconds. I'm not even gonna sit here and try to explain it. Again, you can pause and try to explain it yourself, but it's really confusing to me for some reason. But I heard it's a pretty good perk. I don't really know. Third teachable perk is Infectious Fright. The cries of the unfaithful makes your heart leap. Any survivors that are within your terror radius while another survivor is put into the dying state will yell and reveal their location for 5 seconds. Obviously tier 3 goes up higher. This is a pretty good perk on certain on like a lot of killers, as for example like Bubba and his chainsaw. You can down someone and you can use the chainsaw to pretty much find other people if you have enough charges left. So it's a pretty good perk. Corrupt and Infectious Fright are pretty good perks. Again, I don't know about this perk because I don't understand it. But yeah, it's pretty much our three super perks. Some are add-ons, some are best add-ons. Obviously, like Black Incense, where you can see survivors' auras for 5 seconds when they vomit. But this perk doesn't do anything. I mean, this add-on doesn't do anything if you're not getting people infected. So you have to make sure you're getting people infected, and you get a lot of value out of this. Out of this add-on, and plus you have to make sure that they're not cleansing, because if they cleanse, then you get no value out of this add-on. But also stuff like Blessed Apple. You try with one additional corrupt pool of devotion. It is very good. And just stuff like Emetic Potion, I think that's how you say it, is pretty good. And stuff like that, just like for example, this one increases the duration of corrupt purge. It's just all she has decent perks. She's not a bad killer when it comes to add-ons. She has pretty good add-ons. But yeah, that's why I put the Plague in the number 8 spot onto the number 7. Alright, in the number 7 spot we have, whoa, what in the hell happened? Give me 1 second. These perks, okay. In the number 7 spot we have the Cannibal, or aka Leatherface. He's a very simple killer to play. He's not a whole bunch of confusing power. For example, like Michael Myers, if you're just starting out, his power might be a little confusing towards you. But pretty much all his power is Bubba's chainsaw. He's pretty much Hillbilly's brother with the chainsaw. So pretty much use a charge to extend this length of the chainsaw sweep. Doing this incurs a slightly longer cooldown. Chainsaw charges replenish when the chainsaw is not in use. So pretty much what you do is you rev your chainsaw up, then you release the button, and then he does a sweep, and he has greater movement speed when he does this. And you pretty much sweep with your chainsaw, and anyone in front of you will go down. It's pretty much like a sweep. It's pretty cool. He's definitely better than he used to be. He used to be one of the worst killers in the game, but ever since his little buff that they gave him, he's very good now. He's not the god tier, but he's mid tier. He's pretty good now. He used to be like F tier, but he's pretty good now in my opinion. But he also has this bad thing to where if you rev your chainsaw for too long, he'll go into tantrum mode, and he pretty just swing his survivor, and you have very slow movement speed, and you can't really do anything. And then unless the survivor's stupid, they won't go into your tantrum. Yeah, but this guy's pretty good at loops, as he can, if you get too greedy, he can instantly down you with the chainsaw. But other than that, he's just a basic M1 killer, and he has really no special power except for his chainsaw. His 3 tier super perks, he has one of the best perks in the game, Barbecue and Chili. After hooking a survivor, all the survivor orders are revealed to you for 4 seconds when they are further than 4 meters from the hook. Obviously, this goes up in tier 3. Each time that a survivor is hooked for the first time, gain a 25% stackable bonus to all blood points, gains up to a maximum of 75%. Obviously, it goes up in tier 3 again, and the bonus points are only awarded post-trial. So pretty much what this gives you is, it's probably one of the best perks in the game if you're trying to grind for like blood points and stuff. Not only does this make you be able to see auras of survivors that's in a 40-meter radius after you hook someone, this also gives you blood points on top of that, so you get more blood points at the end of the trial, which obviously you can never go wrong with more blood points, right? Blood points is a good thing to have in this game to level up your killers and get add-ons and perks and stuff. So yeah, it's just a very good perk, and you can run this on every killer. It goes well with every single killer, no matter what killer it is. This perk is just universal. It's so good on every single killer. It's not a bad perk at all. It's just, some perks don't go good together on certain killers. This perk you can put on every killer, and no matter what perks you run other than Barbecue and Chili, it's still always gonna go with it, because it's just such a good perk. second perk is knockout. I only have tier 1, so a lot of information is gonna be lower in this, because to get high information you need to get to tier 3 of this perk. Anyway, the tantrum caused by your brutal attacks makes crying for help painfully difficult. Survivors put into the dying state by your basic attacks are not revealed to other survivors when they're standing outside of a 32-meter range. Survivors put into the dying state by your basic attacks crawl 50% slower for 15 seconds. During this time, survivors are affected by the blindness status effect. Now, this perk is not that good. It's really not that good. Pretty much when you knock down a survivor, they won't be able to. Survivors won't be able to see their aura if they're outside of a 32-meter range, and pretty much when you are the down survivor, you suffer from the blindness status effect, and you crawl 50% slower. So it's not really good perk to run. Now, yeah, you can find some certain builds that knockout would work pretty fine, but it's not really a perk that you would want to run. We got Franklin's Demise. It's your third teaspoon perk. Your vicious attacks make survivors drop their item on impact. A lost item will be consumed by the entity after 90 seconds if it's not picked up. Reels items on the ground within 32 meters within a white aura. The aura of items on the ground fade to red until they are consumed by the entity. So pretty much once you hit a survivor with your basic attack, they drop their item, whatever they're carrying. This is a fairly good perk. It's not the best. It's not a good perk to run, but it's a pretty good perk. Against, you know, people with flashlights or something. For example, if you're in a pre-game lobby and you see a whole bunch of people with items, it might be a good idea to run this perk so you can make them drop all their items. So it's a pretty good troll perk because it makes them drop their items. So it's drop their keys, you know, if they're trying to open the hatch after people get killed. So it's a pretty good troll perk to run, but it's just not the best in my opinion. But that's pretty much all his perks. His add-ons are pretty good. Light chassis, you can see auras of survivors with 8 meters when revving the chainsaw. Stuff like Chili is really good. Spark plug, and like a lot of his incandescents are pretty good too. And so yeah, that's why I put Leatherface in the number 7 spot. On to number 6. Alright, number 6 spot we have the Ghostface, or aka Scream, whatever you want to call him. Now he is probably one of the, in my opinion, he's the best stealth killer in the game. He's similar to Michael Myers when it comes to his power. Pretty much his power is called Night Shroud, and pretty much what you do is you have to stalk people, or you stalk a person actually, because you can only, unlike Michael Myers, the effects that Night Shroud has is only applied to that survivor that you stalked. Michael Myers, you can stalk anybody, and the effects that you get from when you're stalking applies to all survivors, no matter if you've seen them or not. But this, you have to physically stalk the survivor for the effects to apply on that survivor, and once you reach maximum stalk on the survivor, the effects are only present on that survivor, and all the other survivors are free unless you didn't stalk them either. Night Shroud, pretty much what you do is you grant the undetectable status effect. You pretty much can hide your red stain and hide your terror radius anytime you want, as long as your power is up. Ghostface is the only survivor, is the only killer besides Pig that can crouch. Pig can also crouch too, but Ghostface's crouch a little bit more consistent. You can stalk people to put them in the exposed status effect, and that's what I was talking about. You can stalk a survivor and they'll be in the exposed status effect, but that exposed status effect only applies to the survivor you stalked. And all the other survivors that weren't stalked don't have the exposed status effect. The survivor that you stalked and the little circle around their name, around their icon turned red, they are free to get hit with the exposed status effect. Unlike Myers, you go into tier 3, every survivor on the map is exposed with the status effect, is infected with the exposed status effect. Now Ghostface, the one person that you stalked, that one person is exposed, everyone else is fine. So it's when it comes to that, his power is a little bit weaker on that, but it's just he can get someone the exposed health effect so much quicker than Michael Myers can. That's why his powers are so much better in my opinion. Plus we have add-ons that can increase the stalk duration from leaning and stuff. Yeah, so it's pretty much his power. 3 teachable perks is his first teachable perk is Fugitive Chase. This obsession perk. You lurk in the shadows, eliminating your victims one by one. When your obsession is hooked, fugitive. Oh my god. Chase receives a token up to a maximum of 2 tokens. Each token decreases your terror radius by 4 meters. While on a chase, when a survivor rescues the obsession from a hook, the rescuer becomes the obsession. You lose all your tokens if the obsession is sacrificed or killed. Pretty much what this happens is when you hook the obsession and another person comes and saves the person on the hook, your obsession from the hook, they become the obsession. So the rescuer that saved the obsession from the hook, they become the obsession now. So it's pretty much like a obsession trade-off perk. It's not a good perk. It's just really not a good perk. It's just you shouldn't run it. It's just a horrible perk. It's just not good in my opinion. But yeah, that's his perk. Second perk is much more better perk. It's called Thrilling Tremors. After picking up a survivor, all generators are not being repaired by survivors are blocked by the entity and cannot be repaired for the next 16 seconds. Affected generators are highlighted by a white aura. Thrilling Tremors can only be triggered once every 60 seconds. So in my opinion, Thrilling Tremors is pretty much like a knockoff barbecue chili. You can pretty much, except you have to be carrying the survivor for this to happen. Pretty much once you pick up a survivor and you have this perk equipped, all generators that are not being worked on are blocked by the entity and they're highlighted white. So if you still see a generator that is red, you know that there's survivors on that gen. And if you see a generator that is white, you know that there's no one on it because it's blocked. So it's a pretty good perk for gen tracking and survivor tracking. Third perk is I'm All Ears. Unlocks the potential in one's aura reading ability. Any survivor performing a rush action within 48 meters from your location will have the aura revealed to you for 6 seconds. Obviously this goes up in tier 3. I'm All Ears can only be triggered once every 60 seconds. So you can only trigger this perk once every 60 seconds. And so pretty much when a survivor does a running vault, you know, you can see their aura for 6 seconds. So it's pretty good. I'm All Ears is a pretty good perk. It's not the best, but it's pretty good. So now when we talk about his add-ons, his best add-ons is like Chewed Pen. One of his best power recovery add-ons, Crunch Straps, which makes you be able to move faster when crouched. Outdoor security camera, Ghostface caught on tape. This is what the add-on was talking about where you get more stalk when you stalk people. Ghostface can lean and stalk, which is pretty cool, I think. So yeah, that's why I put Ghostface in. I believe it was the number. Yeah, it's the number 6 spot. That's why I put it in the number 6 spot onto the number 5 spot. All right, now we're down to the top 5 killers now. These are the killers that are pretty good. In the top 5 spot we have the Doctor, Shocky Boyo. Pretty much his power is Carter's Spark. It's called Carter's Spark. Pretty much he's a little bit confusing. He's like Myers with his power. He's a little confusing. He has different tiers of his power. Pretty much you get to shock people, and every time you shock them, they go up in a madness. His madness is pretty much like the effect of his power. So Madness 1, which means you have to shock a survivor once for them to go in Madness 1, causes survivors to scream once, revealing their position to the Doctor, slightly affects skill checks, placements, and directions. Once you shock them another time, if you shock them a second time, they go into Madness 2, causes the survivor to scream once and experience hallucinations in the form of an illusionary doctor. So pretty much there's illusionary doctors. Pretty much they see the Doctor, but it's not real. It's an illusion. It's not actually the Doctor. So you can use these illusionary doctors to help you find where the survivor is, because illusionary doctor will always be facing where the survivor is running or walking, or sitting. So you can help. So you can use these illusionary doctors to help you find the survivors. Now, when you've stalk them, I mean, not stalk them, when you shock them a third time, cause the survivor to scream and experience hallucinations in the form of illusionary doctor, tremendously affects skill check placement and direction. The survivors may not perform any healing, repairing, sabotaging, unlocking, or cleansing in interactions until they successfully snap out of it. When a survivor completes the snap out of it action, they return to Madness 1. So pretty much once you get to Madness 3, you pretty much can't do anything. To do anything, again, you need to snap out of it, so you need to go into a little snap out action and perform a few great skill checks, and then you go back to Madness 1. So that's pretty much his power. He also has a secondary power called Static Blast, where you can shock anyone in your terror radius, and it helps you find people. So pretty much, if you have trouble finding people, Doctor is the killer to play, because you pretty much know where everyone's at all times if you keep using your power effectively. His 3 super perks is Monitor and Abuse. While on a chase, your terror radius is increased by 8 meters. Otherwise, your terror radius is decreased by 8 meters, and your field of view is increased by 5 meters. Obviously, tier 3 of this goes up more. This perk is good on stealth killers like Myers, for example. This perk is very good on Michael Myers. So if you have this perk and you have Michael Myers, I recommend running it on him. But it's a pretty good perk. Surprisingly, Monitor and Abuse is not really that good on the Doctor himself, since you want a large terror radius so you can find people easier. This reduces your terror radius, so it's not that good on the Doctor himself, which is kind of weird because it's a teachable perk you would think is good on the Doctor, but it's really not. Whoa. Second teachable perk is Overcharged. Overcharge the generator. Overcharge the generator by performing the damage generator action, and next survivor interacting with that generator is faced with a tremendously difficult skill check. Failing the skill check results in an additional 4% generator aggression. Succeeding the skill check grants no progress but prevents the generator explosion. Pretty much after you kick a generator and a survivor goes right back on it, they would be faced with a very hard, difficult skill check. Obviously, you can succeed the skill check. In my opinion, it's not the hardest thing in the world to succeed. Back then it was hard because people had trouble with skill checks. Nowadays, I don't know one person that has trouble with skill checks, so it's not a good perk anymore. I mean, it's still a good perk, but like, what? Give me a second. But it's pretty much a good perk, as once you cook a generator, the survivor that touches it most likely will sometimes explode it. More than often, he or she would probably explode it more than succeed in the skill check. But it's still a pretty good perk, and it's a decent perk to run. Whoa. Third perk is called Overwhelming Presence. Your presence alone instills great fear. Survivors within your terror radius suffer from the inefficient something, I don't know. Infected survivors' item consumption rates are increased by 80%. After this goes up in tier 3. This is not a good perk. It's not a good perk because it really doesn't really matter about consumption rates of increased of items. It's really not a good perk. You should have run it. I'm not gonna talk about it anymore because it's not that good. So pretty much his add-ons. Probably these. I don't have to really say anything about these because these add-ons are pretty good. His add-ons sometimes can be very confusing. Stuff like this is pretty chill. So yeah, I'm not gonna really go over his add-ons that much. So on to top 4 killer. Fourth killer we have on this list is called the Death Slinger, and his power is called the Redeemer. And pretty much, you shoot a survivor with your gun, and once it connects the survivor, you can reel in the survivor. Pretty much is on a chain. You can reel him in, and once he's close enough to you, you can hit him. And it's pretty much like Huntress, but except Huntress, in my opinion, is better. The Death Slinger is pretty much like Huntress, like I said. But you know, he's obviously different. He has a gun, and it's pretty much, I don't have to say anything about his power. His power is pretty much just that: you shoot people, you reel them in, and you hit them. That's pretty much what you do. Obviously, you can pause the video and look at it. And also, I actually forgot to mention, if you reel someone in and survivors can hide behind objects to break the chain. If they break the chain and you don't cancel it before they break the chain, they're put into the deep wound status effect and they have to mend. You can also break the chain by hitting the attack button and you break the chain that way. Also, you have to reload after every shot, which takes a long time unless you have reloading add-ons. His first teachable perk is Gearhead. After hitting a survivor 2 times with your basic attack, Gearhead activates for 30 seconds. When Gearhead is active, each time a survivor completes a good skill check while repairing the generator will be revealed by yellow aura for as long as it is being repaired. So this is pretty much when you hit a survivor 2 times, a survivor that's working on a gen, and if they hit a good skill check, the aura of that generator will be highlighted in yellow for you, so you know where to go after you hit those 2 survivors and the survivor hits the good skill check. The second teachable perk is called Dead Man's Switch. It's an obsession perk. After hooking the obsession, Dead Man's Switch activates for the next 40 seconds. When activated, any survivor that stops repairing a generator before it is fully repaired causes the entity to block the generator until Dead Man's Switch effect ends. And affected generators are highlighted by an aura, by a white aura. So pretty much when you hook a survivor, for the next 40 seconds, Dead Man's Switch activates, and any generator that is not being worked on, or any survivor that was on a generator but they went off the generator, is blocked. So it pretty much acts like a knockoff Thrilling Tremors. So yeah, it's a decent perk. It's not the best, but it's decent. His next perk is a Hex Retribution. Any survivor who cleanses the Adult Totem will suffer from the Oblivious status effect for 35 seconds. If any Hex Totem is cleansed, including this one, the auras of all survivors are revealed for you to 10 seconds. This perk is not that good. It's not that good. It's really not that good. I guess it's good if like a Hex Totem is cleansed, but I'm done talking about that. But yeah, pretty much his best add-ons when it comes to reloading is Warding Keys. You got, like, in my opinion, his Interdescent add-ons aren't good. They're very hard to use. Marshall's Badge, decent. Barbed Wire, pretty good. That's pretty much his add-ons. So yeah, that's Deathslinger is the number 4 killer. On to the number 3. And number 3 we have the Executioner. Executioner is one of the more recent killers added to Dead by Daylight. It's part of the Silent Hill chapter. Pretty much, Executioner's power is called the Rites of Judgment. When holding the active ability button, you pretty much put your knife in the ground, and when you drag it, it creates these little trails of torments behind you. And pretty much when a survivor steps in it, they get tormented, and they're put into the torment state, where they pretty much get these little weird stuff on their screen. And once you down them, you can put them in something called the Cage of Atonement. And pretty much when they're in the Cage of Atonement, they would be put in this cage and have to just keep hitting skill checks over and over again. Survivors can see the aura of this cage, so it makes it easier for them to locate it, while you cannot see the aura of the cage. Excuse me. His special attack is called Punishment of the Damned. When you put your knife in the ground, you have a little prompt that comes up, and if you hit R2, you can swing your knife forward, which creates a little like shock wave type thing. It's hard to explain. You have to like play him to really understand what I'm talking about. but this pretty much damages the survivor when the shockwave hits the survivor. It damages them, and it is very OP in loops. Now he is getting a change soon. Pretty soon he's getting a change. They just had the PTV on PC recently, so he is getting a change. Where it just takes it, you know, he's put on a more longer cooldown after he picks his sword up from the ground, which pretty much helps with, you know, that weird and annoying loop stuff that he's so good at. He's very good at loops. He is so good at loops. When you can punishment of the damn them when they jump from a window or vault a pallet. He's very good at loops. Very good. He also has this ability called Final Judgment. When a survivor is on their last hook, he can just moor them out of the game instead of putting them on a hook. So it's very good. The Executioner pretty much counters Decisive Strike, because as long as the survivor is put into the torment state, he can pretty much put them in a cage. So if a survivor is recently unhooked and she steps in you know, a torment little patch and she has Decisive Strike and the Executioner downs her and she still has Decisive Strike, he can completely avoid being DS'd and he can put her in the cage. And yeah, that's pretty much his power. 3 T super perks is called Deathbound. When a survivor heals another survivor for 1 health state at least 32 meters away from the killer, the survivor performing the healing action will scream, revealing the location and activating Deathbound for the next 60 seconds. During this time, the survivor will suffer from the believer status effect when further than 8 meters away from the healed survivor. Pretty decent perk when it comes to healing and stuff. Second T super perk is called Force Pendants. Survivors who take a protection hit are afflicted with the broken status effect for 60 seconds. Horrible perk. You never find really any use for this. It's just no. Last perk is called Trial of Torment. After clicking generator, you become undetectable for 16 seconds during this time. The generator yellow. The generator's yellow aura is revealed to survivors, and they can only be triggered every 60 seconds. So this is also getting a buff. When Pyramid Head is getting a buff, his perks are also getting a buff. So pretty much when you click a generator from now on, you will be put into the undetectable status effect for pretty much the whole match until the survivors touch the gen that you kicked again, and then you'll be brought out of the undetectable status effect. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes now. But yeah, Triangle Torment is his, I think, his best perk. It's pretty fun to play. I mean, I use it a lot. You can actually get some good value out of it. You can get a lot of survivors off guard with it. It's pretty nice. But yeah, some of his add-ons are good and stuff like Blackstrap. You can reach it, increases the reach of the punishment of the damned attack. Mannequin Foot. In my opinion, his ultra rares aren't really that good. And yeah, that's pretty much his perks, powers, add-ons, and yeah, he's in his number 3 spot. On to the number 2 spot. Number 2 spot, we have Huntress. Now, Huntress's power is pretty simple. It's called Hunting Hatches, and you start the try with 5 hatches, and you can throw the hatches, and you can hit survivors with the hatches. So you can be like a couple miles, like a couple feet away from the survivor, and you can still hit them if you do a good hatchet throw. You can refill her hatchets at lockers when you run out of hatchets, and she is pretty good at like loops. You know, if the wall's short enough, she can hit you over the wall, so she's good when it comes to that. But yeah, that's pretty much her power. Her 3 seasonal perks are called Hex, Huntress Lullaby. Your hunt is an irresistible song of dread, which muddles your prey's attention. Survivors receive a 66% regression penalty when missing any skill check. Each time a survivor is hooked, Huntress Lullaby grows in power. 1 to 4 tokens time between skill check skill check warning sounds, and skill checks become shorter. 5 tokens, no skill check warning. So this perk is also getting a change too. And this perk currently right now, it's horrible. It's the worst. It's just the worst hex perk in the game. It's just, yeah, bye. We're not talking about it. Second perk is Beast of Prey. Grants the untactable status effect after gaining Bloodlust tier 1. The status effect is removed once you lose Bloodlust. Gain 50% more blood points for actions in the hunter category. So pretty much when you're chasing a survivor for a decent amount of time, you get Bloodlust, and you get Bloodlust. Once you get Bloodlust tier 1, you grant the untactable status effect. Now this is not really good, because the only time you really ever get undetectable status effect is if, the only time you ever get Bloodlust is pretty much if like a survivor is looping you around a pallet or a window, or is if a survivor is looping you. Other than that, you never really get Bloodlust a whole lot. So this perk is not good. It's horrible. Her second perk is Territorial Imperative. Unlocks the potential Aurora's ability. Survivors' auras are real to you for 3 seconds when they enter the basement, and you are more than 32 meters away from the basement's entrance. It can also be triggered every 20 seconds. This perk is just bad. Now it can counter those people that do go in the basement just to get the chest in there, but it's just like none of her perks is horrible, dude. The Huntress's perks are bad. They aren't good, and this perk is just not good. It's just really, nobody really cares about getting that 3 second aura reveal when you go into the basement. It's just not good perk. You shouldn't run any of these perks, to be honest with you. If you would run one of these perks, to be honest with you, I would pick Beast of Prey to run, but even that is just horrible. Anyway, on to her add-ons. Obviously her best add-on, the most controversial add-on in the entire game probably, is Incandescent Head. All you have to do is hit a healthy survivor once with the hatchet, and they are immediately put into the dying state. And some of our add-ons are pretty good, as like Dark Half is pretty good. Reloading add-ons such as Deerskin Gloves. Detection add-ons such as like Glowing Concoction, and Infantry Belt to hold more hatchets. And yeah, that's pretty much everything about the Huntress. On to the number 1 spot. Number 1 spot is the Blight. Now this is a little controversial because I wasn't very sure, I wasn't really sure where to put him. I'm currently not that good with the Blight, but he's obviously the newest killer to be added to Dead by Daylight. He's very new, so yeah, his power is called Bloody Corruption, and a special ability is called Rush. You hold down the ability button, or you tap it I should say, and you pretty much quickly rush forward. Now you can only rush for a certain amount of time until you put into a fatigue, where he pretty much stabbed himself with a syringe. Now to avoid getting this fatigue, you need to bang into walls, and once you bang into a wall, you are put into the lethal rush action. Pretty much once you bang into a wall, you put up your little staff and you run at survivors, and then you can hit them. Your regular rush, you cannot hit survivors. You need to bang into a wall to be put into the lethal rush action. Then once you hit into a wall, you put up your your staff, and then you run at survivors, and then you can hit them. So your regular rush, you can't hit survivors, but your lethal rush, you can hit survivors. That's pretty much how his power works. His 3 teachable perks is Hex Blood Flavor. When a survivor is hit, pallets within 60 meters of your location are held in place by an entity for 15 seconds. These pallets cannot be pulled down. Hex Blood Flavor has a cooldown of 40 seconds. This perk is just terrible, because usually survivors, once you hit a survivor, they usually run further away than like 16 meters. So and plus 15 seconds. If they're very good at looping you, 15 seconds isn't really a long time. So it's just really, it's not good. This can only pretty much help you with pallet saves. This can pretty much help you with picking a survivor up in a pallet and not getting a pallet dropped on you. That's pretty much the only use for this perk. Other than that, it's so much more better Hex perks to run. His next perk is called Hex Undying, probably his best perk. While Hex Undying is active, survivors within 2 meters of any totem have their aura revealed to you for 5 seconds. When another Hex totem is cleansed, the Hex transfers to another available dull totem, losing any tokens in the process. So pretty much, for example, like I said before, Hex Ruin and Hex Undying go good together. For example, Hex Ruin, someone will find Hex Ruin and they'll cleanse it, right? And as long as you have Hex Undying still up and you have other available dull totems up, that Hex Ruin will be transferred onto another dull totem, as long as there's dull totems still on the map, and as long as Hex Undying is up too. Once they take Hex Undying, it's done. Once they cleanse Ruin, it's done. Undying is such a good Hex perk. It really is. His last perk is called Dragon's Grip. After kicking a generator for the next 30 seconds, the first survivor that interacts with that will scream, revealing the location for 4 seconds and becoming afflicted with the exposed status effect for 60 seconds. Obviously, this goes up in when you get to tier 3. Pretty much just stops those survivors that like to hop on a generator after you leave, after kicking it. Pretty much after you kick it, they touch a survivor, they will scream, and they will be inflicted with the exposed status effect for 60 seconds. And since Blade has such good movement speed, he can quickly go to the generator that the survivor was at and gives the survivor very small amount of time to react and to try to run away from the blight. So this is a very good perk. Some of his add-ons are pretty good too, like Plague Vial, which increases the turn rate. Adrenaline, which is, I don't know if it's not that good, to be honest with you. Interesting Blight Tag is not that good. Bladed Crow, stuff like I don't have that add-on sadly, but like a green add-on to where you hit into a wall and you can see all survivors in a 18 meter radius, I think. Compound 7, which pretty much when you slam into a wall, your camera immediately faces a survivor next to you if they're within 6 meters radius of you. Chipped mono something. I don't. Yeah. This pretty much displays the target location of a slam. Pretty much helps with the beginner Blight players. So yeah, that's why I put Blight in the number 1 spot. Anyway guys, that would do for this video. Hope you guys liked this video. I'm still so bad at like these top 10 videos. I really need to get better at these. Hopefully you like them. Anyway, don't forget to go on the description, click button, show them who's boss, especially if you're 23. And adios.